Third video of history lesson 1, Nationalism in Europe. In this video you will come to know about the political, economic, social and about the diverse culture of European people, and we will see the making of nationalism in Europe. No doubt Europe in 18th century was period of intellectual, social and full of political upheaval. There was enormous increase in population all over Europe. Unemployment was there, and as today you are seeing nations, countries like France, Germany, Italy and Britain, you won't believe, children. At that time there was no nation state. Area of Europe were divided into kingdom, duchies and cantons. Children, duchies refers to the territory of duke, and cantons is subdivision of territory for administrative purposes. Here in kingdom, duchies and cantons, ruler had their own autonomous territories and they were under autonomous monarchies. Children, in this diverse people, European people did not see themselves as sharing a collective identity. They spoke different languages and belonged to different ethnic groups. Moreover, they kept on fighting with each other, and and they speak different languages. Here in this you can see different languages were spoken by the European peoples. Example, German speaking areas were Tyrol, Austria, student land. Italian speaking areas were Lombardy and Venetia. Magyar speaking areas were Hungary. Polish speaking areas were Galician. Children, in this if you see Habsburg Empire, they ruled over Austria-Hungary, means patchwork of many different regions. Habsburg monarchy was formally unified as the Austrian Empire. Children, such diverse people of different regions did not provide or created a sense of political unity. The binding these diverse groups together was loyalty towards emperor, means mob or the European people, they were loyal to their king only. No doubt, children, if you see in this the aristocracy and the new middle class, no doubt Europe was broadly divided into two classes during 18th century, namely aristocracy and peasantry. Let's see that definitions and see in detail. Children, if you remember in class 9, we have discussed about French society, which was divided into three estates. First estate, second estate and third estate. In first estate and second estate, clergy and nobles were there. They were socially and politically dominating class, but they were hardly 10%. People hardly 10%. And whereas in third estate, 90% people were there. Similar system was prevailing in rest of Europe. It was just like a France. And here aristocracies were dominant and land owning class, numerically a small number, but dominated Europe both socially and politically. They spoke French, which was considered the language of high societies. Families were connected through marriage and living. They were living a lavish way of life. If you see second, peasantry, tenant and small landowners who worked as serfs cultivated the land of aristocratic lords. Mean they were working under the aristocratic lords. Mean they were just mere farmer. Their condition was miserable and pitiable. But as you know, time wait for none. Means time does not wait for anyone. What happened? Changes came in Europe. Industrialization began in England in the second half of 18th century, and in 19th century it was spread in rest of Europe like in France and Germany. Thus, the growth of trade and industrial production facilities, the growth of town and the rise of commercial class of trade like businessmen, professional, educated class people or literate people. So result, if you see, consequently, the new conscious educated class, liberal middle class emerged and popularized nationalism and stood for the abolition of aristocracy. Means they wanted to uproot the aristocracy from Europe. Slowly, the abolition of aristocracy privileges gained popularity and spread everywhere in Europe. Children, in this you will see what did liberalism nationalism stand for. First, we will try to understand what is liberalism nationalism. In early 19th century, Europe were closely allied to the ideology of liberalism. The term liberalism derived from, second point children, the term liberalism derived from Latin root liber, meaning free, means that is freedom. Third point, liberalism stood for freedom. Now it is clear. So liberalism stood for freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law. Means law is equal for everybody, whether person belong to first estate, second estate or third estate. Means from poor to rich, all will be equal in the eyes of law. So liberalism stood for freedom for individual and for the people living in the country. Fourth, it emphasized the concept of government by consent, means ruling government will stand by consent. Fifth, a constitution and representative government through parliament. Children, a constitution is a set of rules according to which countries govern. I do hope about constitution you have studied in 8th and 9th class. Means all discussion take place in the parliament to pass rules and to pass bills. Sixth point, the right to vote and to get elected was generated exclusively to property owning men. Children, listen, all those peoples who having property means house, something fixed as asset, get elected or right to vote, which was against the system of liberalism and nationalism. So it means men without property and all women were excluded from political right. They all were known as passive citizen. Children, you studied in ninth class also. Passive citizen means children, women, and men without property were considered passive citizen. Even they don't have right to vote. So naturally, women, 8 point if you see children, women and non-property men and women organize opposition movement demanding equal political right. Children, this gave rise to feminism. And feminism means when women get together and fight for their equal right. So they can organize, so they organize many clubs to get their demands and rights. 9 point, the abolition of state imposed restriction on the movement of goods and capital. Here children, state means country, and here country has imposed restriction on the supply of goods and capital. For example, you see in 10th point, a merchant traveling in 1833 from Hamburg to Nuremberg, both are the cities of Germany, to sell his goods would have to pass through 11 customs barriers. Children, from 11 custom barriers it has to be passed, and they pay a custom duty about 5% at each one of them. Children, means 11 custom barriers had different percentage of custom duties, so merchant had to pay a lot of money as a taxes. If you see 11 point, so this was the great obstacle to their economic growth and for their country development. So obstacle to economic exchange and growth by the new commercial classes, which led them to argue for the creation of a unified economic territory, allowing the unhindered movement of goods, people and capital. Just like in India, you have heard about GST system. I think you all know about GST. just for smooth functioning and for development of country. 12th point, the Union abolished tariff barrier and reduced the number of currency from over 30 to 2. Means different currencies of different regions were reduced from 30 to 2. Thank you, children. In next video, you will see a new conservative after 1815 and the role of revolutionary. Till then, take care. Have a nice day.